glad you're here. Dr. Science and I are so excited. Today we're going to talk about one of our absolute favorite subjects in science. No, not worms. We're going to talk about human body, human anatomy. I think it's really important. I know Dr. Science does too, because the more we know about our bodies, the better we'll take care of them. So, let's get started. There are 13 different systems in the body, but I'm going to take my favorite, the circulatory system, and go through the functions of it, some really neat experiments to show what's in it, and then talk a little bit about why it's important to take care of it. So let's get started. I'll deal with you in just a little bit because you're going to have a really big job today. Okay, so functions. What is a circulatory system important for? Well, a circulatory system can be thought of like almost like a mail delivery, like the U.S. mail, or kind of like Amazon, where they deliver things to different parts of your body and take some things that you don't need away. Now, what would be these things that the circulatory system is bringing? Well, nutrients or food that it picks up from your belly and brings to all the distant parts of your body. A really important one, oxygen, that helps to keep all of our body nourished and working correctly. It also can take away things. The air you breathe out is called carbon dioxide, and it's not good for our bodies. So the circulatory system delivers it, so we breathe it out our lungs. Another really important job of the circulatory system, and kind of important when we talk about things right now with COVID, is it helps to protect us from infection. It has very, very important carriers that help to prevent and fight infection. We'll find out the name of them in a minute. And lastly, and I think this is really interesting, it helps to regulate our temperature. When you ever looked at your hand, if you've ever looked at your wrists on a really hot day, and it's really easy to see your blood vessels. That's because they get larger or they dilate to release heat. On cold days, everything it's called contracts or brings itself together to retain or keep heat in. So it's somewhat of a thermostat system, and that's another really important job of the circulatory system. All right, so let's talk about the parts. Everybody knows the star of the show in the circulatory system is our heart. In fact, when you say the Pledge of Allegiance, you actually put your hand directly over your heart, which is just a little bit from the center to the left of your rib cage. So your heart lies directly on your hand when you do the Pledge of Allegiance. Another really important, we just kind of touched on it, part of the circulatory system are blood vessels. They're called arteries, veins, and little teeny tiny ones called capillaries. And lastly, blood. And today, we're going to make blood. Let's talk about some interesting facts about the circulatory system. Did you know that these blood vessels we just talked about, they're so plentiful in your body that if you put each one of them end to end, just in your body, if you put them end to end, they would go around the world 2 times. There's almost 60,000 miles of blood vessels in your body helping you to transport and take away different things in your blood. Imagine this. The size of your heart is exactly the size of your fist. So my fist is different than the size of your fist. This is the size of my heart. Your dad or mom, if they held up their right or left hand, that'd be the size of their heart. And if you have a little brother or little sister and they're smaller, that's the size of their heart. It grows with us, and it's important that it grows to keep doing its job. It's like a big muscle. Now, one of the things that makes it so unique is it needs to pump blood to get things all throughout our body. It pumps blood 115,000 times a day. So if you take your hand and open and close it, relax and then squeeze, relax and then squeeze, this would be the action of the heart. Never stops. And if it does stop, it's not very good news, is it? And it works like that throughout your lifetime. One of the most reliable organs that we've got. One of the things that makes it really unique is you can hear it beat. If you ever went to the doctor, if you know someone in medicine, they always have something called a stethoscope around their neck. That's how important the heart is. They're always eager and careful to listen for it because we need it all the time to do its job. When you listen to the heart through a stethoscope, you're actually hearing valves that actually exist in this heart opening and closing, and it sounds like it's thumping, like someone's pounding. The pounding of a heart, you'll hear that expression. All right, when the heart pumps, it actually creates what we call pulse. And there's different parts in your body where you can feel and count these pulses. It's really kind of fun. One of the things I like you to do before you search for these different pulse points, they're called pulse points, is to maybe do 30 jumping jacks or run around the house a couple times. Get your heart beating. Exercise is one of the best things for our heart. And then when you stop, you can feel them. Let's bring Dr. Science over for a second, and I'll show you where his pulse points are. Yeah, don't be nervous. This isn't going to hurt. I just want to show everybody out there where you can feel your heartbeat, especially after you've exercised. Now, I understand you jumped around, or what did you do? Oh, okay, great. Well, he did a little exercise. He said jumping jacks, but I'm not sure. But he now could probably get a really good feel for where his pulse points are. One of I think the easiest place to find it is take your hand and just underneath your hand where your wrist meets, there's a neat little spot to find, not me, let me do it. There's a neat little spot to find the pulse. So I'm Dr. Science, it's right here. Another pulse point, yes, I can feel your heartbeat. You really did exercise. Another point is right under here. For us, it's right here underneath your neck. This is called your carotid artery. Let me see. Somewhere in here for Dr. Science, doesn't hurt, yeah. Yep, you're still alive. And the last pulse point, and if you really get a lot of heart beating, you can feel it right here. This is a pulse point in your head, and sometimes you can actually see it moving on athletes when they've really exerted themselves. So these are 3, 1 here, 2, of the many. So remember, we had said exercise increases our heart beating and also therefore increases our pulse. So if you counted, I bet you in a minute, if you counted the number of beats or pulse, you would have about 90 beats in a minute. Maybe a little bit less, maybe about 70. To give you an idea, the larger the organism, like an elephant, the slower the heartbeat. Now, Dr. Science here, he's not very big. He probably has a heartbeat of about 90. A baby has a heartbeat of about 130. An older man, like maybe your dad, would have a heartbeat of about 75 beats per minute. And oddly enough, that's the same as about adult sheep. Yeah, adult sheep, 75 beats per minute. And then finally, a really, really, really large organism like a whale would have about 20 beats per minute, or an elephant has 25. So the larger the organism, the slower the heartbeat. I'll get back with you in just a second. All right, larger organisms, like we talked about, elephants, big men, are going to have more blood in their body. I want to give you an idea about how much more, called their capacity. This is about the amount of blood that would be in a grown man. So a gallon and a little bit more. For somebody your size, you probably would have about that much blood in your system. And for a younger child, a toddler, or maybe even a baby, about this much blood in your body, or even a little bit less. So it varies greatly, or changes greatly, as we grow. We need more to deliver more and take away more. To get to know these components of blood a little bit better, I thought it'd be fun to make it. And really, you can use your creativity to do this. But I'm going to tell you about the 4 different parts of blood, and then you can kind of look around the kitchen and see what works for you. The blood is made up of 4 major components. Red blood cells, really big part. They help to carry that oxygen we talked about. White blood cells, which help us to fight infection. Platelets, which help us to heal ourselves when we hurt. If you fall down and scrape your knee or cut your finger, they help you to heal and to close a wound. And then lastly, the carrier of all these components is called plasma. And in listening to the TV lately, you may hear people talking about plasma as a really important part of healing. So let's talk about what we need to make blood. All right, in making our blood for today's experiment, this is what you'll need. I use just a clear bowl. I have a cup of water that's dyed yellow. I have little Christmas sprinkles, and just about maybe 20 of them. I have Christmas gold sprinkles, and I'll tell you what these represent in just a little bit. And then I have a bowl with nearly the same amount of product. This is Cheerios with red food dye, and it's about the same amount as our yellow water. And lastly, I just use Honey Nut Cheerios, and as I mentioned, dyed them red to represent red blood cells. I love this experiment because it helps us to remember exactly the components of blood. In fact, I've even laid them out here in the amounts that are very similar to the blood in your body. So let's put the most important or the most abundant in first, and that would be our plasma. Now, plasma is considered to have a little bit of color in it because it has a lot of nutrients in it, and I made mine, I just dyed the water yellow. The next, I'm going to add the second most common or most prevalent part of blood, and that's our red blood cells. So we'll add those next, and we'll just pop them in. They take up a good portion of our blood. Give them a little stir. Already you can see that plasma and red blood cells make up the majority of blood. Next, let's add our white blood cells. Keeping in mind, those are really important for fighting infection or diseases in our body. Really, really, really essential, particularly in this time of COVID. So now our white blood cells are in. In fact, if you're sick, they tend to grow and grow in number to help fight infection. And lastly, our friends the platelets. They keep us healed and very much get to the places of attention when they need to if we're injured. So let's add in our platelets. And now, ladies and gentlemen, you have made blood. Now, last thing I want to say, and then we'll have some time with Dr. Science. We talked about the importance of the cardiovascular system, but it's your job to keep it healthy. Remember to do a few things really well every single day. Thank your heart for beating, for one. 2, drink a lot of water. Water helps to keep our cardiovascular system clean and keep it healthy and well nutrient provided. Another thing you can do, and we did this kind of in the beginning when we're feeling our pulse, is to exercise. Exercise keeps the heart beating and keeps it healthy. And lastly, well, let me ask Dr. Science what he thinks is most important. Oh, calm down, you didn't miss that much. We did make some blood. Yeah, it is really cool. And we're just talking about, and I thought I'd bring you back out to help me. We're just talking about all the important things that you can do, yes you, to keep your cardiovascular system healthy. We talked about exercise, eating right, well, you kind of eat right, drinking water, and you have one more that I thought was really important that you could add. You want to remind me what it is? That's exactly it. Dr. Science and I both believe that one of the best ways to keep your cardiovascular system healthy, along with the ones we just mentioned, is to laugh. Laugh actually increases your circulatory system and has it work a little bit harder. And they always say, yeah, that's right, laughter is the best medicine. See you again with more Human Anatomy with Dr. Science and Miss Sharon.